Hey everybody, it's Simone Watson, and I don't know how to classify this video because I guess it's not really about reading or writing. It's just about life and things that are happening right now. Um, so, so we all know, right, about Charlottesville, I'm guessing, and just stuff that happened over the weekend. Um, if you don't know, basically there was a white supremacist rally. A bunch of people, peacefully protested the white supremacist rally, and somebody drove a car into some of the protesters. And so now there's a lot of anger and disappointment and like horror, disbelief, just a lot of negative emotions happening in the US, perhaps in other places too, that are looking in at this situation. Like, I don't know. Um, so I thought of something today. I was watching Brene Brown. She's like this like famous public speaker kind of, and she's also a professor at the University of Houston, which is where I attended college for 3 years. Um, I don't have a degree yet, but I attended for 3 years and I loved it. And so she was talking about. She brought up in her speech. She was like on Facebook Live. So sorry, there's a train going by. She brought up how the University of Houston is the most ethnically diverse research university in the U.S. And I remember reading about these statistics about how it was like really one of the most diverse universities in the U.S. I remember reading about this back when I was a student, maybe before I was a student, and being really proud. And I'm still really proud. I'm still very glad that I was able to go there to UH and to experience the environment that I experienced there. And another thing that Brene Brown said, she was talking about privilege. She was talking about confronting privilege. And she said, you can't, like, the worldview that you have, you can't, like, take that off. You can't put that lens down in order to see the world through someone else's eyes. Because you can't stop seeing the world the way that, like, you see it, to some extent. But, like, she was saying that, like, one thing that you can do is you can listen to people when they tell you stories of prejudices that they've experienced. You can listen and believe them and, like, not invalidate them. And she did mention how, like, privilege is not only about race, yeah? And it just made me think of something that I said one time that was like really wrong. And the reason why I'm talking about it now is because it's like something I think that I can learn from just looking back. But it's kind of really embarrassing to admit that I said this. So when I was at UH, I came from South Florida, where there were like, I guess there were like, the way you experience like race relations and stuff, it definitely varies from place to place. But there were ways that I experienced race relations in South Florida where most of it was not like outright from what I could from my like worldview, okay? Where I went to school, most of it was not like outright people saying hateful things to each other about their race. People did say hateful things sometimes about like other people's sexuality and different things like that. But even that, I didn't hear that a lot. Not saying it didn't happen. I didn't hear it a lot. I didn't know of it happening a lot, and that was all I had known. And so, but there still was a level. There's still in my like area where I live. There still did seem to be like lines drawn where like a lot of times people would hang out in a group like at my school, and it would be like the group of like all the people of a certain race hanging out together, or you could be one of like the outliers, but it was, you know, where it was like, okay, a lot of the black people like hang out together, but like not me because of whatever different reasons, or like not like this one person. So it's really hard to explain, but there definitely was separation, there was stereotyping, there were different things like that that I could tell were happening. Um, yeah, I'm not saying that that's more or less, you know, racism or something, or, you know, discrimination than anyone else would experience. I did experience discrimination, but a lot of the discrimination that I experienced, just being a black woman, I didn't even know that that was what it was like at the time. Because, you know, I was young. I hadn't really seen anything else. I hadn't really lived anything else. It was just like, do you know what I'm saying? Like we all have like our view of what's going on, and it changes um as we like learn more things. Okay, so yeah, there is obviously a more nuanced thing than I can really say in this video, but just basically that I had a view of like, okay, this is the level of what prejudices there are, and what progress is being made and different things like that. So when I went to the University of Houston, so many things were different that I almost thought like, I honestly almost thought that like discrimination didn't exist there at UH, because it was on such a different, it was like, it was, I was experiencing life in such a different way at UH. When you go to UH, you walk in the dining hall and you see like this table of like 10 people, all different shades of brown. Okay, we're talking about all different shades of brown skin, people sharing a meal together, just communing together. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you go to UH, you go into a classroom and it no longer feels like normal equals white. Um, because the level of ethnic diversity is so, it's so high there. Okay, it no longer to me felt like, oh, normal people are white. Like, not at UH specifically. Um, for people to be in an interracial relationship was like not shocking at UH. At least in my experience. Different people may have experienced something different. They went to the same college as me. But like being in an interracial relationship was not surprising with like at UH. Whereas where I grew up in South Florida, that would be pretty surprising. Like I'm just not like, I mean, and depending on again, obviously there are nuances to this. But it wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, what? It wouldn't be that shocking, but it would be surprising. Whereas at UH, it was like, yeah, people are in interracial relationships. Like, yeah, that happens. That's what it felt like. That wasn't surprising anymore. And so I think I went there and kind of took this view that like everything was like sunshine and rainbows, when that wasn't really, like, I can say like I admire the progress that, you know, that I can see at the University of Houston. I can say I would love to see spaces be more inclusive than that, but that doesn't mean that that space was perfect. That doesn't mean that discrimination didn't happen there. That doesn't mean like stereotyping still happened quite a lot, I think, at UH. And that is like a tough thing. The tough thing, I can't even like, I'm sorry, I'm like close to tears because I didn't really think about this like this. But this is one of the tough things about UH, is you live around all different types of people, and you start to think you know what everybody is going through. And that's actually not the case. And so the problem is, if I'm at UH and I start to think like, oh, I have friends who are from Jordan and Lebanon, you know, I don't know why I just said Jordan and Lebanon. Those are two separate countries. I'm not trying to be. But if I'm like at UH and I'm just like, oh, I have friends who are from the Middle East, and I see them, I talk to them, I interact with them on a daily basis. So now I know exactly what it's like to be from the Middle East and live in the US. And that's not true. I don't know exactly what it's like to be them just because I'm around them. And so I think that that's something that I have to kind of like repent of, or something, like, because people will act like they know you. You know what I'm saying? They know you. They know what you go through. They know this and this and this, and they know what discrimination you do or don't face. Like on a daily basis, they know what you do or don't face because they have a lot of black friends. They hang out with a lot of black people. They do this and this and you know what I mean? And it's like, no, that's not actually the case. Okay. And being in a situation of like hearing people sometimes downplay examples of discrimination, hearing people kind of brush it off and like try to like casualize, is that a word? Try to like make it casual. Oh, they're just joke. It's just a joke. We didn't really mean that, and this and this and this. And I mean, all that to say that, no place is perfect, but I shouldn't be getting in a place where I think, oh, I have nothing more to learn. I know everything about everybody. I know what everybody goes through, or like I live in some perfect place, some perfect utopia where like there's no discrimination. Like, I shouldn't be thinking that, because that's not true. So this is getting longer than I thought it was, but that's because this is like a multifaceted issue to unpack. So when I was saying, like, I said something that I was wrong about. I was in a screenwriting class with, I don't know, like 12 other students or something. It was a small class. It was not a round table, actually. The table was rectangular. But that's a joke. But we would sit around a table and we would discuss our screenplays. And my professor, I think we thought we were going to like be taught how to write a screenplay, but we weren't. What we actually did was we wrote screenplays and we talked about them to one another in this group setting. We didn't really get taught like how to do it. I think our professor thought we already knew from like another basic class. I don't know. The point is, we're talking about what we're working on and giving each other feedback. And this was fall 2014. So I was like a junior, and this one student, a guy who I think is gay, he was talking about his idea for his screenplay, and he was basically saying it's this idea where there are these two men, from what I can remember, these two men that like want to get married, but then they go to this, what do you call it? Like a wedding planning business, and the wedding planning business is like, I can't quite remember, but it was some kind of like microaggression type of thing where they're like, yeah, we'll plan your wedding, but we're going to try and like shape it into something other than what it is, or like we're going to try and like pretend that like you're not a same-sex couple or something like that. And like he described this idea, and this is what I said that was wrong. I basically said something like, oh, your story idea is unrealistic because no one opposes same-sex marriage anymore. Same-sex marriage is just a completely accepted thing all the time, everywhere. In the US, at least, that is just accepted all the time. And so you actually should like completely flip around your story idea into something different. And I can't even remember what I suggested. It also had to do with same-sex marriage, but it was like a totally different story idea. And another person in the class like kind of like chimed in with me and was like, yeah, that would also be a better idea. Da, da, da. And the guy that had said the idea, he was like this. His face was like this. Oh, okay. Like his face was just like not like, thank you, like for and for whatever, and so later on, I saw this guy again. We had like a mutual friend, and the mutual friend invited us both to dinner or something like that at the dining hall, and like we talked whenever. And yeah, it was kind of an awkward vibe, but I didn't really understand like why this was like kind of upsetting to this guy. I thought that it was upsetting to him because like, oh, that's my story idea, and you just changed it. You know what I mean? Because I didn't like people changing my story idea either. That's what I thought was upsetting to him at the time. But I was like, oh, I gave constructive criticism, blah blah blah. I didn't realize until later the reason why this was messed up is because it was like me saying, I know what discrimination you go through and that it doesn't exist. Because this guy is a gay man. He knows what discrimination he faces. I don't know what discrimination he faces. I know some of it, but like for me to basically say like, oh, that specific type of discrimination, because I haven't seen it in my personal experience, that type of discrimination doesn't exist, or like because I happen to be around people that are just like yay same-sex marriage, that I think everyone is like yay to same-sex marriage, and therefore like this experience that you've described is like inauthentic. That's a really messed up thing to say. And so what I should do is like if someone talks about a type of discrimination that they've experienced, like I should either like just like I should either like I really should just believe them and like expand my worldview. And a lot of times like I don't have to say anything. Like I could just listen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to say anything. So there is more to say on this topic, but really I'm just really sorry. Like I've even done this about my own discrimination. I've even done this about being black. Yeah, that I'm just like, oh, such and such a type of prejudice doesn't exist because I hadn't personally seen it or whatever. I'm just really sorry to like anybody that is like just affected by that, and particularly to like the LGBT community, because I didn't know what I was talking about. And I thought I was helping this guy, where what I really was like doing was saying, hey, this discrimination that you face, it doesn't exist. And that's like a really harmful thing to say, and I'm just really sorry. And I just wanted to tell you guys this in case it's food for thought and something that someone else like also has something to say on. And yeah. So if you guys have any thoughts on this topic, just please let me know in the comments. Yeah, and thank you again for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.